Welcome to Tuesdays with Terra. I'm Terra Bundance, and today I'm going to talk about my experience around codependency and the things that I've learned through my own journey around recognizing codependency in my own life. So I've run one end of the spectrum to the other. I've been a fixer, I've been someone who's wanted people to like me, and everything in between. So the work that had to happen for me was first and foremost I had to recognize that I was codependent and still am. And what they call recovery is basically an ongoing practice of noticing how to set boundaries for yourself, noticing how to take care of yourself instead of feeling the need to take care of everyone else and do everything to fix and take care of everyone else. So codependency can go to this deep place of you care about people so much that you end up putting them ahead of yourself. This is not something that we need to do. So basically, the whole concept, and I've shared this once before, and I know many of you have heard this: when you put the mask on yourself in an airplane, when the oxygen masks come down, and you put that mask on yourself before you help others, that's what we need to do in the world of taking better care of ourselves and being less codependent. One of the ways that we can practice that is by setting boundaries. So a lot of people don't understand the concept of boundaries until they actually start doing it. And then they're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And they stop. The reason for this is because setting boundaries is uncomfortable. Setting boundaries is one of those things that when you do it, you know you're going to hurt somebody's feelings. You know you're going to make someone uncomfortable. So that's okay. It's okay that you're going to feel that. It's okay that they're going to feel that. And it's okay that people feel uncomfortable. So the more that we do that with one another, the more we find that it gets easier. And so setting boundaries is one of those really important things that I struggled with a lot in the beginning. So I started going to Al Anon meetings thinking I'm going to learn how to be a better partner for this person. And what I ended up learning was how to be a better person for myself. And in so doing, I learned how to be a better partner to everyone because once I'm taking better care of myself, I'm putting myself first, I'm setting boundaries. I'm going to be a better friend. I'm going to be a better partner. I'm going to be more dependable. I'm going to be more trustworthy. And that didn't start right away. It probably took me about 8 months before I really even understood or heard the word codependency in a different way. And once I started listening to that word and letting it sink in just a little bit, I thought, I think I'm codependent. And once I was willing to recognize that, I had to start seeing it everywhere. I started noticing it in every relationship I was in. I started noticing it when I would be doing things in a group setting. I would always put everybody else ahead of me. And so, what I started to learn was how I'd been showing up in relationships. And that wasn't very present. It wasn't very in my body. It wasn't very consciously choosing from a healthy place. It was basically, what can I do for you? How can I make you comfortable? How can I put you ahead of myself? So once I was in Al Anon for about 2 years, I started going to therapy. And it took me a while in therapy to dig even more deeply and recognize the issues and problems that I had based on how I was showing up in relationship with codependency, to dig even more deeply into finally setting boundaries. Once I started learning how to set better boundaries, I started pissing a lot of people off. And so as I was doing that, I kept trying to figure out ways to not hurt people's feelings, not piss people off, not make people angry, and still set boundaries. And it's like sometimes that's just not going to happen. You're going to have to set some boundaries and it's going to hurt some people's feelings. And you're going to have to walk away from that experience thinking that was for the best. I needed to do that for myself and I needed to do that so that either our relationship is going to continue growing or it's going nowhere. And that's okay too. So, one of the things that I had to learn in setting boundaries is that I'm going to possibly and most probably lose people in my life. When I say no to people who I've basically let walk all over me in the past, or I've let them take advantage of me, Or I've let them do things that were uncomfortable, but I was willing. I wasn't giving them a clear sense of me. I wasn't giving them a clear sense of who I wanted to be in that relationship. So once I started giving people better awareness and understanding of who I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up in the relationship and how I wanted to be supported and seen in the friendship or relationship, I lost friends and I lost family and I lost partners. So, a big part of noticing how to step into our more confident, present, balanced self in doing the work around codependency, we are given so many opportunities to learn to say no. I don't know if you've heard the phrase or the sentence, no is a complete sentence. It's one of those that I had to really, really allow myself to embrace. No is a complete sentence. So when I first started saying no to people, instead of always saying yes and resenting it later and having lots and lots of anger and frustration at that person for not realizing that I didn't want to do it, but they asked anyway. So of course I had to say yes. Once I started saying no, I would say no because, and I would give this long answer of why. And then I got better at saying, no, I really can't. That would be a little hard too, right? So then the next step would be, no, I'm not able to, with a smile on my face and taking deep breaths while I'm saying it so that I don't tense up, and show them on the outside like, oh, I'm really having a hard time saying no here. Because the thing about people who don't know how to listen to boundaries is that they'll try to cross them. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad people. Sometimes they just don't catch on. Sometimes people just don't notice when somebody's really having a hard time saying no. So it's up to us as individuals working on our issues around codependency to get comfortable saying no. So let's practice now. Okay. So let's say you have a concert coming up that you're about to go to, a great concert, and your best friend calls you and says, I need you to please come and stay at my house this weekend. We're going out of town and I can't find anybody else. Can you please do it? What's your answer? Okay. Feel into what that answer might have been. Was it scattered? Was it, oh, well, I've got this concert and maybe I could do it and still make it and that, like, was it all over the place? Was it a complete, like, no, I'm so sorry. I can't do it. I've got this concert that I'm going to. Was it, brother, sister, I love you so much. I wish I could help you. I'm not going to be able to do it this weekend. Now, how does that feel? Once I started saying no, it was really amazing how easy it became. And the other person would go, sometimes they'd be upset. Sometimes they'd be like, oh, great, you know? But a lot of times they would go, okay, I hear you. I'll see where else I can turn. It would actually be much easier than I thought it would be. Most of the time, because codependency runs so deep in our psyche, we really want people to like us in a way that when we say no, we don't want them to be angry with us. So a lot of times we actually switch it in our brains and we think they actually depend on us for their lives. And the real truth is they depend on more than just one person. They depend on many people, most likely. The way that we work through codependency is always an internal process first. It doesn't happen from the outside in. It happens from the inside out. Start learning how to set better boundaries. Start taking a deep breath before you say yes. Start pausing. One of my favorite phrases, pause before you respond. I pause before I respond. I pause before I respond. I pause before I respond was a mantra for me, even just a few years ago. And I've been doing codependency work for a really long time. But that phrase, I pause before I respond, was such a great, like, helping me sink even more deeply into awareness that it's okay for me to take a breath. It's okay for me to not have the perfect answer at the perfect time. Another piece around codependency is thinking that you have to have an answer for everything. So when somebody comes to you and they ask you, you're like, well, they're coming to me. So they must like me, or they must trust me, or they must believe in me. So I should have an answer. And the problem with that is a lot of times you don't have the answer. And it's okay to say, I don't know. I was 26 before I started saying, I don't know. Up to that point, I always tried to have an answer for everything, whether I knew it or not. Thinking that you know everything doesn't make you look more intelligent. It actually makes you look kind of like a people pleaser. It's all it does. All it makes you look like is a people pleaser. And there's no reason to feel the need to please everybody all the time. It's not, your world is not going to fall apart. People are not just going to fall off the face of the planet because you don't know the answer or because you said no. But the truth is, we all deserve peacefulness. We all deserve comfort in our bodies, minds, spirits, lives, experiences, expressions, everything. We deserve that peacefulness within. And when we don't feel peace within, then we need to find how to get there. We're not going to find it again. We're not going to find it out there. We're going to find it in here. And we may find support out there, such as a 12-step program, such as therapy, such as reading Coda books or Al Anon books, building the tools within, allowing ourselves to say no, taking a deep breath before we say anything, before we answer or respond to things from now on, pause before we respond. And from there, baby steps, saying no, no, thank you. I really wish I could, but I can't. Being able to not be so concerned about pleasing everyone else around us or making them like us. Because here's the bottom line, not everybody's going to like us. Not everybody likes me. I've learned to be okay with that and get used to that. The basic thing here that I wanted to talk about is just really recognizing how codependency can lead our lives down a path of resentment and discomfort and pain in our bodies, pain in our thoughts, just pain in general, suffering. So we don't want to go down the path of suffering, or we want to at least find our way back to a path that includes support, includes health, includes presence. Because when we are codependent, we're not being very present. We're kind of always looking backwards or forward, stressing and worrying about how people think about you or how people think about how you experience and express yourself. So here we are looking at how we deal with how other people see us. From this point forward, I'm going to ask that you breathe into your body, breathe into your mind, breathe into your thoughts, breathe into your feelings. Get better at saying no. Get better at not making people comfortable all the time. Get better at allowing people to be uncomfortable around you, because that's not where your instability might be coming from. It's probably coming from something that happened a long time ago. And that's where therapy is really good. And getting more comfortable with the discomfort. That's probably one of the first steps in deciding I'm going to let go of being so codependent, and I'm going to start taking better care of myself and having a lot more love for myself, consciousness and presence for myself. And in so doing, I allow myself to be more present with people in a healthy way. And then I'm creating healthy relationships with people, healthy bonds, healthy experiences. And I'm not walking around in resentment and suffering. So thank you for joining me on Tuesdays with Terra. This one was a big one. So please really let it sink in. Watch it a couple times if you need to. Enjoy your week. Have a blessed day. I'll see you next week on Tuesdays with Terra.